Oh my God, it's finally here. You have no idea how long I've waited for this one. Welcome back, backpackers, to Off Grid. My name is Dave, and I'm into all things backpacking, hiking, and gear. If you're interested in any of those things too, please consider subscribing to the channel. I've got another first look coming at you today, and man, I've waited for this for a really long time. This is the UGQ Bandit top quilt from UGQ. I ended up getting this on their Black Friday sale, and I think it took somewhere around like 10 to 12 weeks for them to get it to me. I finally got it, and I'm super excited to open it up. So this is going to be an unboxing and first impression video, so let's get right into it. So it says to not use a blade right on it, but I'm kind of just like, how do I end up opening this thing if I can't use a blade on it? So I'm just going to be really careful when I open it up. There you go. Here it is. Man, I waited a long time for this. One of the things that I'll note right off the bat here, it's got a little tag that doesn't really have any kind of information other than maybe who packed it on there. Other couple things in the box here. That's pretty much it for the box. We've got, looks like my spare pad straps that I ended up getting with it. I decided to go with like the deluxe pad straps on there, and I decided to get a couple of extra ones. So I think I have about 3 total, it looks like, in here, maybe 2. I don't really know. There's like a shorter one in this bag here, and then a couple of their stickers looks like in here too. So let me open this up. Little congratulations and business cards, so that's pretty cool. It's the 2 pad straps. And then there's this smaller one. I'm not exactly 100% sure what this tiny one is all about, but these are the pad straps that came with it. Generic bag. It looks like I just got 1 sticker. One of the cool things about getting these like more premium gear, as well as like stuff from like backcountry, is they end up giving you some cool branding merch that I'm definitely gonna throw in like my bear canister or someplace else. So that's pretty cool. The other thing to note too is that I wasn't sure if you could select an option. I didn't see anywhere on their site where you can select an option for their stuff sack. So there's a lot of different customization that you can do for all of the gear on UGQ's website, especially their quilts. But as far as like their stuff sack goes, I didn't see anything for that. So this just looks like a generic brownish type of color. It's got like a neon green string to it, and that's pretty much it. It's got their tag off of the bottom here with some handcrafted. It says handcrafted in Jackson, Michigan, so that's really cool too. It's got get this tag off of here. Don't think I need this. It's got a little loop here. Tag just flew off the table. It's got a little loop here, which is interesting. It's just so that you can like pull your stuff once this is opened up. You can pull the quilt out of it super easily. But yeah, it looks pretty compact. Looks pretty lightweight. So I'm gonna get into a little bit of the specs real quick. I'm gonna get some B-roll of, you know, throwing this out and showing you what it looks like and everything. But for the options that I chose for my quilt, I ended up going with their 800 fill power. It's a 20-degree quilt, and the 20 degrees is their comfort rating and not necessarily their survival rating, which is really appreciated. A lot of other companies end up advertising a certain type of temperature, but that ends up being their survival rating, or the lowest thing that you can go down to as far as like degrees in Fahrenheit or Celsius, and they end up putting their comfort rating on this. So 20-degree bag or quilt from UGQ, I don't even know if they do bags, I think they just do quilts, is their comfort rating though on the overall bag. So really nice that I can get down to about 20 degrees with this quilt. I decided, again, I went with the 800 fill power on this. I decided to go with a flat sewn foot box on it. I ended up doing, like I said, the extra pad straps on this. One of the cool features that they had on it too is that they have an option for the tension. They call it dynamic tension control, I think they call it, which is basically on both sides of your back, and I'll show this in the footage as well too. They have an extra drawstring that goes all the way down your back from like about where the top of the quilt is around your neck all the way down to near the foot box. You can cinch those up so that you can get greater tuckability. I don't really know what you call it, but greater ability to have the quilt wrap around you at night, in addition to the pad straps, to keep everything together and to eliminate all those drafts. As for some of the other specs for the width, I decided to go with a 55-inch width, which is a little bit higher. They have only two different options to choose from, 50-inch and then a 55-inch. Decided to go wider because I'm a side and stomach sleeper, so I like to spread out, spread eagle all over the place to try and get comfortable. I'm just looking at the other specs here online. For the length, I decided to go with the standard 72-inch. It's a 6-foot length, and one of the things that, again, that you have to be reminded of here with quilts is that you don't necessarily buy something for it to go all the way over your head. It really only usually ever comes up to about your neckline, and I'm about 5'8", so 6 feet would be plenty for me to rock with. Yeah, I got that. I think they also have like a cinch cord that goes around your neck too, which is a different design than most other quilts that are out there. A lot of other quilts end up having a cinch design where when you're laying on it at night, the cinch cord or the shock cord ends up dangling right in front of your face, so that's kind of weird and cumbersome. This design here has it kind of like wrapped around your neck. There are two different points that you can cinch down and then button down around the back of your neck. And I've heard from at least one other channel, I think it was Backcountry Exposure, where Devin was saying where you're basically just trading it off. Like they don't have, nobody has a design where they have a cinch kind of like off to the side. UGQ has it in the back, so it might kind of like impede with your neckline when you're laying on your pillow. And then the other ones, like I had mentioned, are kind of like dangling in front of your face, so it's kind of like a lose-lose no matter where you go. But I like this design a little bit better because at least it's not like kind of wrapping around your neck or hanging in your face at night, so that's pretty cool. They also have other options here for over stuff in the entire body, but also in the foot box too. I decided not to go with either of those options because I usually sleep pretty warm as is, so I don't really need a bunch of the over stuff. And then I decided to go with the M10 fabric. It's a little bit more expensive and it's a little bit thinner denier nylon. I think the standard is 20 denier nylon. I decided to go with the 10 denier nylon on this. And the color options are, I've got the blaze orange for both the inside and the outside. Sometimes I just like to go with the standard color of, or the color scheme of whatever the company offers. So UGQ has like a bunch of like their blaze orange, so I decided to go with that. And if I ever do end up getting a Z-Packs backpack or any other type of Z-Packs material, I'm going to consider that bright blue that they have, just because it's just another signifier that it's their stuff. I don't know, it's just, you know, even though I'm not a huge fan necessarily of a particular type of color, I actually dug the orange in this one. One of the pro tips I can give you on colors too is that if you have bright colors on the inside of your sleeping bag or your sleeping quilt, it's just easier to find stuff if you end up throwing stuff in there at night to either keep warm or to stash as like an additional compartment. And then the last two options here are for the draft collar and the taper style. So I decided to go with the taper, which basically means that it's wider at like your shoulders towards the top end of the quilt, and then it kind of goes more narrow as you get down to the foot box. I'm totally fine with that, even though I am a side sleeper and I like to be a little bit more wide. I didn't think that it was worth the extra, like as I'm recording this, $10 option to add it to it. And then the what was the other one that I was going to be looking at? Oh yeah, the draft collar. I was really tempted by the draft collar to really cinch everything kind of like down and really eliminate those drafts, but I decided ultimately not to go with it because I think it just added a little bit more weight to it. Or if it is a little bit cooler at night, I would just have something like an extra hoodie around me or something like that to keep me warm at night, so I'm not really like super worried about the draft collar around the neck. And because you have the shock cord too, so you really can cinch that down, not really strangle yourself, but cinch it down enough where you can really eliminate a lot of those drafts. Oh yeah, there's one more option. That's for the stuff, it's not a stuff sack, it's a mesh storage sack, I guess you'd call it. I already have one here from another purchase of a different type of product, so I didn't really need that because, you know, another pro tip is that you want to hang this up. You don't want to keep this compressed in the bag or in the stuff sack itself. Only when you're kind of like, you know, backpacking do you really want to like shove this in your backpack and keep it compressed, because it is down. You want to make sure that it is lofted as much as possible. So if you're not using it for a week or two or any extended period of time, you want to make sure that you're either hanging it up in a closet or putting it in a mesh storage bag. And I think the storage bag is probably the preferred way to go, because I've heard if you do hang up down like bags or quilts off of like, you know, a clothing rack or something like that in your closet, that the down tends to migrate, especially if you have vertical baffles and you're hanging it that way, that the down tends to migrate towards the bottom of wherever you're hanging it. So keeping it kind of like out of the stuff sack but in a larger mesh bag and still just kind of like in a ball-ish type of shape, I think is probably the best way to go if you're going to store your down quilt. So let's get into the overall weight and then the cost of this item that I spent on buying this quilt. The overall weight, I'm assuming, I haven't weighted on my scale yet. This is just the weight off of the manufacturer's website, and the total came in at 22 ounces for everything included here, all the options that I had just mentioned. And then let's get over to the overall price point too. Again, I got this on a Black Friday deal. I'm sure they run other deals throughout the year, but this is probably one of the best deals that they had, especially because the lead times, or the times that it takes or the time I should say that it takes to create these quilts goes up exponentially around that time of year. So I'm assuming that that's probably one of the best deals that you're going to be able to get. So I ended up snagging this with all the options that I had mentioned for $215, not including shipping. And the normal MSRP on this, or the normal cost of this quilt with all these options without the sale, is $268 as of the date of this recording. So there you have it. That's my first look at the UGQ Bandit Top Quilt 20-degree version. Super excited to test this out. I just got this recently. I'm going to test it out in the field very soon, and then I'm going to do a review later on to let you guys know what are my thoughts on using it, what are my likes and dislikes, and you know, how does it stack up to this initial first video. So if you have a UGQ Bandit quilt, let me know down below. If you have any other thoughts or comments about, you know, what's a quilt or what are sleeping bags and what are the options that you can get for each one of them, let me know down below. If you have any thoughts on if you like a quilt versus a sleeping bag, it's probably gonna be another video that I'm gonna be doing, but let me know down below on that as well. So I really want to hear from you guys to know what your thoughts are on this quilt and any other quilt that you've used before, because I'm totally new to the quilt scene. This is the first ever quilt that I bought after doing a ton of research on it and seeing a lot of other YouTubers liking this quilt and actually loving this quilt, really, as far as the craftsmanship and the stitching and everything like that. I've heard this is just top notch, so I decided to pull the trigger on this, especially since I got this during the Black Friday deal. So let me know your thoughts on quilt usage versus sleeping bags, and which one do you like better. So that's going to do it for me this week, folks. Thanks so much for watching my first ever first impression on my first quilt. That's way too many firsts there, but I really appreciate you guys. And remember, if you're heading off grid, make sure you do your research and you make it a safe one. I'll catch you all on the next one.